Welcome world. This is the channel where I engage in conversations to transform our African mindsets. Today is a very special day. It's my birthday. So I would like to talk about my mindsets and how I have transformed over the years. Without wasting time, let's get started. To talk about my mindsets, I have to start from the beginning. I was born in a small town in eastern Uganda, Iganga, and both my parents and the wider clan were not educated, schooled people. So I was brought up in a very traditional tribal way as a Musoga. And the first 7 years of my life when I was in that kind of setting, I don't remember much the mindsets that I was nurtured with. But when I started schooling at the age of 7 and throughout my education in Uganda, when I look back, I can judge that the school and social environment in Uganda tried to nurture mindsets that I can now judge as self-defeating, or in my writings I call them 6 killer mindsets. The first is because society and the school system judges you primarily as a tribal person. I grew up with a groupthink, or what I call a herd mentality as a mindset. Not individuated, but rather a group mentality. Second, because the school system and society always teaches you about how we were colonized and the British came and did that and created Uganda, you grow up with an inferiority complex towards the colonizers, who end up being anyone European or white. Third, because of that inferiority complex, you look and you realize that your tribal, your traditional life is not cultivated in school, so you end up hating your roots or your traditions. So that brings the third killer mindset of self-hate. And then fourth, because every time, whenever something bad happens, or even you can read it in our books, the society wants to attribute everything that happened that's bad to colonialism or to the outsiders. You end up inculcating a mindset of a victimhood mindset. That's the fourth one. Then the fifth is because you end up not speaking your language but speaking English, and actually being beaten for speaking your language, and you grow up looking up to Britain and Europe, you end up having this insatiable appetite to consume foreign things, or an eagerness to consume things that are not local. And then the sixth and worst of the 6 killer mindsets is what I call the elite dilemma. As you go through school, as I went through school, I realized I wasn't British or European, but still I was more than the tribal boy that grew up in Iganga. And in my making choice, I developed a dilemma in that I could not be settled in either of those two camps. So this elite dilemma is something that I spend a lot of time discussing in my books. In my late teens, I left Uganda to go to the US, and I went there for school, the pre-university school years, and the first year in the US was a year I define as me trying to hold on to my Ugandan experience. Mentally, psychologically, I was still in Uganda, while physically in the US. But after 1 year, I broke loose and started engaging the American society, and boom, for the first time, I faced what they call an identity crisis. For the first time, society asked me, "Who are you?" And I could not answer, "I am a Musoga, this is my tribe, and I'm a Christian." For the first time, because the society in the US asks you, "What is your race?" I had to answer that I am a black person. And this has implications psychologically, socially, behavior-wise. And I spent about 3 years conflicted about being primarily a black person. At some point, I realized the more or the deeper I define myself as a black person, the more I started having reoccurrences of the 6 killer mindsets. So while in Uganda, I felt a victim because of the imperialism of the British and Europeans, in the US, as a black person, I could feel psychologically my victimhood was coming from the fact that I'm a black person and there's a dominant white heritage. Whereas the inferiority complex in Uganda was due to me being a tribal person vis-a-vis the European English people. In the US, I could see it on TV and I could see it in myself. The black self-hate was there because of the difference between the black class and the white or non-black class. So I got conflicted for about 3 years, but at some point I'd read a book called The Africans, A Triple Heritage by Ali Mazrui, and one day I woke up and I had an epiphany, and I realized, you know what, the American society does not have to define who I am. I can define myself, and that is how the creative idea of the fourth heritage came about. I said, you know what, I've inherited 3 heritages, which is my tribe, my religion, and the colonial heritage. But due to my knowledge and my character and my experience, I can integrate them in a personalized identity I call the fourth heritage. So that's how the fourth heritage was born. And when you ask me about my mindsets come from the way I identify myself, my identity, and the fourth heritage as an identity gives me the latitude to bear or to bring forth mindsets that are the opposite of the 6 killer mindsets. And I've written about this in 3 books, and over the next coming weeks I'm going to be sharing this topic of mindsets, how you can change, how I changed, and I hope you will learn a thing or two. Now that you know my story, why and how I changed my mindsets, have you been in a similar situation? If so, what did you do about it? Please join the conversation by making comments in the comment section below. Thank you, share within your network, and I'll see you next Saturday.